The red wine smelled funny, so I gave it to my sister instead. 5 minutes later, she collapsed. That's when I knew my own mother wanted me dead. My name is Emily, and I'm 27 years old. I thought the day of my engagement party would be the happiest day of my life. I had waited so long for it. Jason, my fiancé, had planned everything so well. The decorations were beautiful. White roses, fairy lights, soft music. My friends were laughing, people were clapping, and the air smelled like cake and fresh flowers. But the one person who didn't smile that day was my mother. She stood near the corner, watching everything, her face stiff. She wasn't happy, not one bit. It wasn't a surprise. She had never liked Jason. She always said he was too poor for me, that he came from the wrong kind of family. But Jason was kind. He loved me. He worked hard, and I knew he'd take care of me. Still, my mother had been cold ever since we got engaged. She wanted me to marry someone else, a rich businessman named Daniel, her boss's son. I had only met him once, and he acted like he owned the world. No daughter of mine will marry a broke man. My mother had shouted at me a week before the party. I cried after that fight. But I didn't change my mind. I loved Jason, and I was going to marry him no matter what. The party moved on. Laughter filled the room, and music played as we cut the cake. Then came the toast. People were lifting their glasses, clinking them together, smiling. And that's when my mother walked toward me, holding a glass of red wine. Her smile was wide, but her eyes looked strange, too sharp, too focused. She held out the glass to me and said, "To a happy future, my dear." I reached out and took the wine, trying to stay calm. But as I brought the glass closer to my lips, I paused. Something didn't feel right. The smell. It wasn't just wine. There was something else, something bitter, like cleaning liquid or metal. I pulled the glass away from my nose quickly. No one noticed. I looked around and saw my little sister Zoe standing next to me. She was just 22, full of joy, laughing like she always did. She held her own glass, smiling. Then someone called out, "Let's take a picture of the sisters." Zoe came closer. My heart was beating fast. I didn't know why. Without thinking, I reached out and swapped glasses with her. Just like that. She didn't notice. She was too busy smiling at the camera. Click. Flash. After the photo, she took a big sip from the glass. I held mine, but didn't drink. I kept smiling. My stomach twisted like a rope. Something was wrong. I could feel it. I looked at my mother. She was still watching me. Her smile faded just a little. Then it happened. Zoe suddenly dropped her glass. It shattered on the floor. Her hands shook. Her face turned pale. She looked at me with wide, confused eyes. Then she fell. Hard. People screamed, "Zoe, she's fainted! She's not breathing!" Someone called for an ambulance. Jason grabbed her. I was frozen. Zoe started shaking. Foam came out of her mouth. My world spun. Tears filled my eyes. I looked at my glass, the one I was supposed to drink from. Still full, still smelling wrong. I looked at my mother again. Now she was pretending to faint. She dropped to her knees, crying fake tears. "Oh, my baby," she yelled. But I wasn't looking at Zoe anymore. I was looking at her, only her, my own mother. She had handed me poison. She wanted me to drink it. She wanted me to die. But Zoe did instead. Zoe was rushed to the hospital. I sat in the back of the ambulance, holding her cold hand, crying and shaking. Jason sat beside me, his arm around me, but I felt alone. I stared at her face. She was so still, so pale. The doctors moved fast when we got there. They pushed her into a big white room and told us to wait outside. I felt like I couldn't breathe. "What's happening?" I asked the nurse. She looked at me, her face tight and serious. "We're doing everything we can, but it looks like poisoning." Poisoning? The word hit me like a punch in the chest. I almost dropped to the floor. Jason caught me. "It can't be," I whispered. But deep down, I knew. That glass of wine wasn't normal. I didn't imagine the smell. And Zoe didn't just faint. She drank the wine my mother gave me, and now she was fighting for her life. I sat on the cold bench, holding my face in my hands. Tears poured out of me. Jason rubbed my back. "I'm going to find out who did this," he said. I nodded, but I didn't speak. I already had an idea, and that idea was eating me alive. The nurse came out an hour later. "She's stable now, but it was close," she said. "She was poisoned with rat poison. We found it in her system." Rat poison? How did rat poison end up in a glass of wine? My hands shook. Jason stood up, angry. "Someone tried to kill her!" But I stayed quiet because I knew something he didn't. That wine was meant for me. I didn't say it out loud. Not yet. I needed to be sure. We went back to my house that night. The party had ended in screams and sirens. People had run home. No one was celebrating anymore. And my mother? She disappeared after Zoe was taken away. Did she know? Did she run because she thought I drank the wine? Jason paced the room. "This doesn't feel random, Emily," he said. "Your mom gave you that glass, right?" I nodded slowly. I could still see her face, the fake smile, the cold eyes. "Why would she do something like that?" Jason asked. "She's your mom." I sat on the bed, silent. Then I whispered. "She didn't want us to get married. She wanted me to marry Daniel, her boss's son. If I marry you, she loses the deal." Jason stared at me. "You think she tried to kill you over that?" I nodded, but tears rolled down my cheeks. I didn't want it to be true. No one wants to believe their own mother could try to kill them. But the wine, the look in her eyes, the smell, Zoe collapsing, all of it made sense. I stood up and wiped my face. "I need to do something," I said. Jason looked confused. "What?" "I need her to admit it, or panic, or something." He shook his head. "Emily, she's not going to confess just like that. Then I'll make her believe she got caught." The next morning, I went to the police station. I told the officer that my fiancé had installed security cameras all around the event space days before the party. "It's for security," I said. "We have video of everything, including who touched the wine glasses." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Can we see the footage?" I nodded. "We're getting it from the hard drive tonight." It was a lie. There were no cameras. Jason never installed any. But I wanted the lie to spread. I wanted my mother to hear it. So I made sure one of my cousins, who loves gossip, overheard me talking about it outside the station. By that evening, the whole family knew about the hidden cameras. And guess what? That night, at exactly 10:42 p.m., I got a message on my phone. It was from my mother. "Emily, we need to talk. Please delete the videos. I'll explain everything. I never meant to hurt anyone. Please." My hand went numb. I stared at the message. Jason looked over my shoulder and gasped, "She did it." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood up and called the police. I walked into the police station with my phone in my hand. My heart was beating fast. My hands were cold. The message from my mom was still on the screen. "Emily, we need to talk. Please delete the videos. I'll explain everything. I never meant to hurt anyone. Please." I showed it to the officer. He read it slowly, then looked at me. "You're saying this message came after she believed there were cameras?" I nodded. "She thought she was caught," I whispered. "That's why she panicked." The officer looked serious now. He stood up. "We'll take it from here." They made a copy of the message and started checking her phone records. They also asked for the guest list and the names of everyone who touched the wine. But I didn't stop there. I gave them the wine glass too. Yes, after the party ended, I had gone back to the venue and picked up my glass, the one I never drank from. It still had red wine in it. I had wrapped it in a plastic bag and kept it safe. Now I handed it over. They sent it to the lab. 3 days later, I got a call. "Emily, the wine glass you brought in," the officer said, "it tested positive for rat poison." My knees went weak. Jason held me up. That night, the police knocked on my mother's door. She opened it, smiling like nothing was wrong. Then they showed her the message and the lab results. Her face changed. She tried to lie at first. She said it was all a mistake. She claimed she had nothing to do with it. She even said the wine glass was probably tampered with by someone else. But then they took her phone, and what they found shocked everyone. On her phone, the police found a search history full of terrible things. How to poison someone without getting caught. How much rat poison can kill a person. Can red wine hide bitter taste of poison? All searched on the same day as the party. It was all there. Proof. Clear and ugly. When the police showed her the search history, my mother broke down. She cried. But not the kind of cry that comes from guilt. It was the kind of cry that comes from getting caught. She said, "I only wanted to scare her. I didn't mean to hurt Zoe. She wasn't supposed to drink it." The officers asked her why she did it. And she told them. She said I had ruined everything. That she had spent years building a business relationship with her boss. And that boss wanted me to marry his son, Daniel. She said, "If Emily marries Jason, the deal is off. My company loses everything. We're talking about millions." She said she tried to warn me, but I didn't listen. So she thought if she scared me, I'd break up with Jason. Just a little poison, she said, just to make her sick, not kill her. But Zoe drank it instead, and now she was in the hospital, fighting to walk again. My mother didn't even ask how Zoe was doing, not once. That broke me. When the police told me they were arresting her for attempted murder, I didn't cry, I didn't shout. I just sat down in the station, holding Jason's hand. And for the first time in days, I felt something like peace. It still hurt. Of course it hurt. This was my mother, the woman who raised me, the woman who once rocked me to sleep, who brushed my hair, who kissed my forehead when I was sick. But that woman was gone. Or maybe she had never really been there at all. Jason drove us home that night in silence. He kept looking at me, worried. "Are you okay?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "No," I said, "but I will be." Later that night, I sat in my room and stared at my phone. I opened old pictures of my mom, one from my 10th birthday, one from my graduation, one where she held Zoe in her arms. And I asked myself, how did we get here? How does a mother look her daughter in the eyes and hand her poison? The answer? Greed, control, pride. She didn't care who I loved. She cared who made her look good. She didn't want a son-in-law. She wanted a business deal. And when I chose love, she chose to destroy it. But I survived because I listened to my gut. And because Zoe drank the poison instead of me, that will haunt me forever. The hospital room was quiet. Zoe lay on the bed, pale and weak, her hand hooked to tubes. But she was alive. She had opened her eyes. She had smiled at me. And when she whispered, "You didn't drink it, did you?" I broke down crying. I held her hand tightly. "I'm so sorry, Zoe. I didn't know. I just had a feeling. I never meant for you to get hurt." She nodded slowly. "It's not your fault, Em. You saved yourself. And you saved me too, in a way." The doctors said the poison had damaged her body. She would walk again, but it would take time. Her nerves were hurt, and she'd need therapy. Her voice was weak. Her legs shook, but she was fighting. My brave little sister, she was still fighting. I visited her every day. Jason brought flowers, magazines, her favorite candy. Zoe would laugh a little, even with pain in her eyes. We didn't talk much about Mom. It hurt too much. But sometimes Zoe would ask, why did she hate Jason so much? Why did she think money mattered more than us? I didn't have an answer. I don't think I ever will. The day of the court hearing came. I didn't go. I couldn't face her. Jason went in my place and told the truth. The judge gave her 10 years in prison for attempted murder. She didn't cry. She didn't even say sorry. I got a letter from her the next week. 1 page. "I did what I had to do. I wanted a better life for you. You made a mistake choosing love over power. One day, you'll see that. Mom." I tore it in half. Then I burned it. 1 month later, Jason and I got married. We kept it small, just a few friends, and of course, Zoe. She was in a wheelchair, but she wore the prettiest dress and smiled the brightest. She was my maid of honor. Jason cried when I walked down the aisle. So did I. But not because of sadness, because of freedom. Because even after all that pain, we still had love. We still had each other. After the wedding, Jason and I moved to a new home. We started fresh. New walls, new neighbors, no bad memories. Zoe moved in with us for a while, and we helped her through her healing. Every time I passed the kitchen and saw a bottle of red wine on a shelf, my heart skipped. I still couldn't drink it, not even a sip. It reminded me of too much, of the moment that changed everything. One day, I sat alone in the living room. I held a wine glass in my hand, not to drink, but just to look at it. So simple, so harmless. And yet, it almost killed me. Or maybe it almost saved me. Because that moment, when I smelled something strange and listened to my gut, that was the moment I broke free. From my mother's control, from her plans, from her grip on my life. She didn't want me to choose love, but I did, and I'd choose it again. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had drunk that wine. Would I still be here? Would Jason have found out? Would Zoe have blamed herself forever? But life doesn't give us those answers. It only gives us the truth that happened. And the truth is, my mother tried to poison me because of money, because of pride, because I said yes to love and no to control. Zoe's walking again now, slow but steady. She says she wants to go back to school. She wants to study nursing, to help people like the ones who helped me. I'm so proud of her. Jason and I are planning a honeymoon. Not something big, just a quiet cabin by the lake. We don't need much, just peace, just each other. Sometimes people ask me, "Do you still talk to your mom?" I just smile and say, "No." I don't explain. I don't need to, because not everyone will understand. But I do. I understand that sometimes the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who hurt you the most. And you have to protect yourself, even from them, even if they gave birth to you. And now, every time I see a glass of red wine, I remember that day, the party, the toast, the smile on her face, the smell in the air, the switch, the scream, Zoe collapsing. And I remember one thing most of all, that love saved me and almost killed me. But in the end, I survived, and I'll never forget. Do not forget to follow us for more stories.